President Xi Jinping talks about the trade war as he meets visiting leader of Azerbaijan. A new crew for China's space mission tomorrow. And Chief Executive John Lee visits Hangzhou Six Little Dragons. Hello and welcome to TVB News. I'm Melissa Hekalea. President Xi Jinping held talks with the visiting Azerbaijani president in Beijing today. She said tariffs and trade wars are undermining the world's economic order. Danny Cho with details.
Red carpets were laid outside the Great Hall of the People on Wednesday for a grand welcome ceremony. Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev was warmly greeted by the Chinese leader Xi Jinping, the First Lady Peng Liyuan, as well as senior Chinese officials. Xi and Aliyev then inspected the Guard of Honor together. Aliyev is on a state visit to China from April the 22nd to 24th at the invitation of Xi. During the meetings, Xi said the trade disputes hurt the legitimate interests of all nations and weaken international economic structures. He told Aliyev that China stands ready to work with Azerbaijan to uphold the international system with the United Nations at its core, while safeguarding international fairness and justice. Xi voiced China's support for Azerbaijan's sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity, and Azerbaijan's pursuit of development path chosen by its own peoples. For his part, Aliyev noted his country firmly upholds the One China principle and recognizes that Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory. The two sides decided to elevate their ties to a comprehensive strategic partnership, which includes commitments to further collaboration in law enforcement, security, and multilateral diplomacy. About 20 new cooperation deals covering a wide range of sectors were signed under the Belt and Road Initiative. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
In the latest shift of tone in the ongoing Sino-American trade war, U.S. President Donald Trump said the United States will not make things difficult for China and drastically reduce tariffs that were previously slapped on the nation. But Trump stressed the tariffs will not be entirely lifted. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Responding to the press at the Oval Office on whether Washington is actively engaging with Beijing in negotiations, U.S. President Donald Trump did not give a direct response. While noting that the 145% tariffs slapped on China are high, he said he will lower the figures significantly but not completely eliminate them.
That's true. 145% is very high, and it won't be that high. It's not going to be that high. It got up to that. We were talking about fentanyl, where various elements built it up to 145. No, it won't be anywhere near that high.
What level do you think it'll come down to if you haven't?
It'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero.
Trump also said the United States and China have excellent relations, and he will not make things difficult for Beijing.
We're going to be very nice. They're going to be very nice, and we'll see what happens. But ultimately, they have to make a deal, because otherwise they're not going to be able to deal in the United States.
Thank you.
This, as reports say, U.S. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent said that the current state of trade between the U.S. and China is no different from an embargo and must not continue. He added Washington has no intention to decouple from China and expects the trade conflict to cool down in a very short period of time. However, Bessent said trade negotiations have yet to begin and predicted the talks will be challenging. Meanwhile, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the U.S. president is currently forging a path for a trade deal with China, adding that both parties would like to see its implementation. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
China's Shenzhou 20 cruise spaceflight is set to blast off on Thursday evening. A new team of astronauts was unveiled for the upcoming mission. They'll replace the Shenzhou 19 crew currently on China's orbiting Tiangong space station and will stay there for roughly 6 months. Danny Cho reports.
The three Shenzhou 20 astronauts met the press at the Zhouquan Satellite Launch Center in northwest China. At the helm is 46-year-old Chen Dong, who will take on the mantle of commander. A seasoned astronaut, Chen previously served on the Shenzhou 11 and Shenzhou 14 space missions.
二回熟。
Chen said he's exhilarated to revisit the space station and head for the endless universe. He added the mission must be completed with 0 errors and 0 mistakes. While his crewmates will make their first trip to space, Chen stressed the importance of mentorship, saying that team cohesion and combat effectiveness must be cultivated. Both of the two newcomers are from the third batch of Chinese astronauts. 40-year-old Chen Zhongrui used to be an Air Force pilot. Before encountering the world of space exploration, Chen gained more than 10 years of experience as a flight instructor. Chen told reporters that he has dreamt of flying higher and traveling in outer space, vowing to make an all-out effort to accomplish the mission. 35-year-old Wang Jie from Inner Mongolia is an aerospace flight engineer. Wang acknowledged that he was profoundly influenced by the success of China's first manned spacecraft mission in 2003. Wang added that he's carrying out his first flight to contribute his share to the country's aerospace development. The astronaut said they're confident in fulfilling the mission objectives. Chen Zhongrui said there was a period when they were nervous and under stress, but now the trio's seamless collaboration makes them one. The Shenzhou 20 spacecraft is expected to dock with the forward port of the Tianhe core module to form a 3-module and 3-ship assembly. While in space, the crew will conduct science and application experiments, perform extravehicular activities, and install space debris protection devices. Meanwhile, China's 4th batch of astronauts set to participate in Shenzhou space flights is currently in training. It features for the first time 2 candidates from Hong Kong and Macau, who are selected as payload specialists. Sources say Hong Kong Police Chief Inspector Lai Ka-ying was picked for the role. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Market fluctuations caused by the trade war have caused employees in Hong Kong to suffer losses in their mandatory provident fund. A study showed the average loss for each worker this month surpassed $11,000. Samantha Lee reports.
Global financial markets have been heavily affected by U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff war, affecting the performance of various assets and, by extension, MPF funds. According to a study by an MPF advisory firm, as of last Wednesday, the average MPF loss per member was $11,163, with a cumulative year-to-date loss of $3,815. Stock funds performed poorly this month, losing 6.8%. Mixed assets funds dropped by 2.9%. Fixed income funds are relatively stable, edging up by 0.1%. Unlike other investment tools that can be bought and sold, the MPF can only be taken out after retirement. The Mandatory Provident Fund Schemes Authority said MPF is a long-term investment that spans more than 40 years. It said the MPF inevitably encounters different economic cycles. MPF account holders are advised not to think only in terms of short-term speculation. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee continued his trip to Hangzhou today. He went to the Hangzhou Future Sci-Tech City to visit some technology companies. Lee also welcomed potential plans by startups known as the Hangzhou 6 Little Dragons to set up branches in Hong Kong. Samantha Lee reports.
On the second day of the chief executive's Hangzhou visit, Johnny went to the Hangzhou Future Sci-Tech City with Zhejiang provincial officials to observe the local IT industry developments and schemes. Lee also learned about the Hangzhou Smart City and artificial intelligence development. The Hangzhou Future Sci-Tech City is one of the core areas of the city's digital economy and technology innovation, where at least 2,700 technological companies have been set up, such as Alibaba and ByteDance. Johnny went to the headquarters of Qiangnao Technology, one of the Hangzhou 6 Little Dragons. This IT firm specializes in developing intelligent bionic hands and feet, as well as AI medical equipment. A staff member used his hands to write for Johnny. Despite his disabilities, he wrote beautiful calligraphy. In the afternoon, Lee went to Unitary Robotics, which is also a member of the Hangzhou 6 Little Dragons. Lee was welcomed by the company's founder, Wang Xinxin. Lee had a tour of the firm and its products, including this boxing robot. The humanoid robot and robotic dog are the star products of Unitary, which performed during New Year's Gala on CCTV. Reports said Unitree had registered in Hong Kong. Wang said he would facilitate the process.
我们一直在香港还是有些业务啊之类的。
Wang said he had been working on some business in Hong Kong and other parts of the world. He did not rule out the possibility of making the company go public in Hong Kong in the future. During the discussion with representatives of the IT companies who shared their experience of developing technology, Li said he welcomed the Hangzhou 6 Little Dragons to set up or do business in Hong Kong. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
The viewing of Pope Francis's body begins today in St. Peter's Basilica for 3 days of public mourning. His funeral will be held this Saturday at 10 a.m. in St. Peter's Square. Known as the People's Pope, he was widely respected for his humble style and concern for the poor. Tracy Furness looks back on the legacy of Pope Francis.
The first Latin American Pope, Francis became leader of the Catholic Church in 2013 after Pope Benedict XVI resigned, the first pope to do so in 600 years. Francis charmed the world with poignant acts of love, humility and informality, starting with his first appearance as pontiff on the loggia of St. Peter's Basilica with a remarkably normal buonasera to his cheering flock below.
Francis was a pope of the people, as he was called. And so I think that closeness, that tenderness, that warmth, that affinity with ordinary people, which previous popes have had, but I think he was able to express it much better than almost any other pope.
After that first rainy night of his election on March 13, 2013, Francis made even greater gestures, like bringing a dozen Syrian refugees home with him from a Greek refugee camp and having them lunch with him in Vatican City. Francis repeatedly took up the plight of migrants and denounced border initiatives of US President Donald Trump. On his flight back to Rome from the US-Mexico border, he said that a person who advocates building walls is not Christian. Francis also advocated for global peace, and a day after his death, leaders of Catholicism, Judaism, Islam and evangelicals from his native Argentina pledged to deepen the interreligious dialogue that the Pope promoted. The bells of St. Peter's tolled Wednesday as the body of Pope Francis was transferred from the Vatican Hotel where he lived to the Basilica, escorted by a procession of solemn cardinals and Swiss guards. Pallbearers carried the simple wooden coffin on their shoulders through the Vatican archway gates leading to St. Peter's Square. Heads of state are expected for the funeral Saturday in St. Peter's Square, but the public viewing is largely for ordinary Catholics to grieve the 88-year-old Pope, who died Monday after suffering a stroke. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
The Census and Statistics Department announced Hong Kong's consumer price index rose by 1.4% in March. The increase is lower than the combined rate of 1.7% in January and February, primarily due to a decline in transport expenses in and out of the city, as well as travel expenses. Excluding the government's one-off relief measures, the year-on-year rate of increase in inflation was 1%. The largest increases were seen in electricity, gas, and water. Prices for clothing, footwear, and durable goods declined. As access to drinking water becomes ever scarcer owing to the effects of climate change, the government has begun seeking and developing new sources of drinking water in recent years. One such site is the Chung Kwan O desalination plant, which began operations at the end of 2023. The plant utilizes technology to transform saline water into safe drinking water, which is considered more effective than distillation. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Located beneath a body of water separating Joss House Bay and Tolong Chau is a tunnel that bears immense responsibility for the livelihoods of local residents. Entering the hexagonal intake of the megastructure, seawater will then pass through a 330-meter-long tunnel before arriving at the Chung Kwan O desalination plant. After undergoing a filtration and purification process, the water will then go through a reverse osmosis procedure in these white-colored pipes. The desalination plant is fitted with over 2,300 pipes and operates on a 24-hour basis. The plant is capable of producing 135 million liters of drinking water every day. That's around the same volume of water of 54 standard swimming pools. It is a significant upgrade from the now defunct Lokanpai desalting plant in Tunmoon, which only produced 25 million liters of drinking water each day. This mechanical engineer from the Water Supplies Department stressed the efficiency of the Chongkono plant comes from the fact that the facility applies a desalination method instead of the slower distillation method used in its Tunmoon counterpart. The processed water will then be supplied to areas including Saikung and Kowloon East, while more concentrated saline water will be released back into the ocean. Meanwhile, authorities running the desalination plant noted it could increase the production levels of drinking water to 270 million liters per day as part of the plant's second phase of construction, which would make up 10% of all drinking water in Hong Kong. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Today is World Book Day. A social enterprise in Hong Kong has worked to redefine the reading experience at schools and libraries with their roving book trucks. Jackie Lin spoke with its founder and beneficiaries.
Traveling library, transforming the solitary activity of reading into a communal experience. These books on the move are brought to various schools and neighborhoods across Hong Kong by social enterprise Rolling Books to nurture reading habits among children, one reading truck at a time.
I actually like reading books with my friends, because they can tell me what they think about the book. Reading in the library, it's very quiet, but in here you could see lots of different things like trees, flowers, and grass.
Rolling Books recruit retirees as their drivers and reading ambassadors who are trained with storytelling skills. Among them is Yandy.
As a management, of course, it is very stressful. And after retirement and joining these Rolling Books, I have the chance to involve with the kids and also to have the chance to inspire them to read.
Students are overwhelmed with homework, assessment and extracurricular activities, leaving them little time to read. And also, the worst thing is they can't resist the temptations of playing online games in setting like this. Outside of the classroom, outside of the library, students find it more motivated to read.
James Chong, a former bookstore owner, founded Rolling Books in 2018.
You can see the laughter and the fun in introducing each other with the different themes of the picture books that gets them into getting more beautiful experience with reading.
The organization also accepts donations of second-hand children's books from the public, hoping to increase the variety of books for children. At the same time, they also roll out a program to give away second-hand books for low-income families. Over the past 6 years, more than 3,000 low-income families have benefited. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.